good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is, afternoon I think it is. So, as normal, like I did last month, I'm going to go through my Blu-rays that I have watched, the films that I've seen, and hopefully give you some insight to some of the films that I like to watch and all that. Watched considerably a lot less than I did last month, but at the same time I've been busy playing video games because I've been enjoying my 2 weeks off. So, without further ado, we're going to get into this. Hopefully it's not going to be that too long of a video. Hope you enjoy. First off, we have The Host. I talked about this in my last video. Great Korean monster movie, done by Bong Joon-ho. Again, probably butchering the pronunciation. But yeah, definitely, if you can get your hands on this, very cheap. I got it from £6 on Amazon. Definitely worth it if you're into your monster movies and your South Korean films, because this was gorgeous. And it was gruesome as well. It was quite gruesome. Quite dark as well. It's a very dark story, and it's very emotional as well. It really gets you on the edge of your seat, in my opinion. Yeah, not too much to say about this. So quite a fair bit in my last one. Great film, definitely worth watching if you can get your hands on it. Next, this isn't actually my copy, but I'm using it here for a demonstration. Lighthouse. This is my housemate. Me and my housemate sat and watched this together because he said wanted to show me for a very long time. Because he just recently showed me Saint Maud. That's another film that I watched. But this was brilliant, shot really well. This is done by Robert Eggers, as we like to say. He also did The Witch. This is really good for his second film. It's shot beautifully, it's very creepy and atmospheric. I quite like Robert Pattinson in this. He kind of grew on me throughout the film. I wasn't too keen on it, but Willem Dafoe steals this entire show. It's a brilliant film. It's shot really nicely. Did a bit of research for it. All the lenses and stuff they used, like all the different styles and techniques they used to put this film together, was brilliant. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. Probably everyone's seen this. A lot of people saw Lighthouse. I didn't, because I'm one of those people that if you're going to keep people go like, you haven't seen the Lighthouse, you haven't seen the Lighthouse. Oh, why haven't you seen the Lighthouse? Go see Lighthouse. I'm not going to watch it. That's it. Give me time. I'll get there. But yeah, this was really good. Definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen it. When we were sat watching The Lighthouse, we were talking about how we were taking the piss about how crazy Willem Dafoe is in a lot of his roles, but we love Willem Dafoe. I love Willem Dafoe. My housemate loves Willem Dafoe as well. We made a joke about watching Spider-Man, and after watching Lighthouse, that's exactly what we did. We watched Spider-Man 1, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire. I hadn't seen these for years, neither had my housemate. We thought we've been wanting to sit and rewatch these for quite a time while we've both been talking about it, so we decided to sit down and watch this because we were on that Willem Dafoe vibe. I still think this personally holds up. It's a bit goofy in places, but at the same time I really like it. It really also slows down in a lot of places to give you the emotional development of the characters, which is quite nice, which a lot of Marvel films now don't seem to, or undercut it with jokes, where this doesn't. There's lots of serious moments that stay serious. They don't have jokes in it. Willem Dafoe really hams it up as the Green Goblin. Out am I? People don't like the Green Goblin costume. I like the Green Goblin costume personally. Tobey Maguire is great in this as well. Great film. Just everyone in it is really good. After that, we decided we're like, should we watch the other two? We're like, yeah. We were like, fuck yeah. So the day after, we sat and watched Spider-Man 2. We didn't watch the theatrical cut, we watched the extended version of the film. There's really not that much difference apart from the elevator scene, and there's a scene where Jameson wears Spider-Man's suit. It's quite funny actually. But yeah, this is a fantastic film. This was brilliant. This is just as good as this is better than I actually remembered it, to be fair. I remember it liking it, but then this time I ended up loving it. I'd say this is the best Spider-Man, but Spider-Man 1 is my favourite for nostalgia reasons, because I'd always rewatch Spider-Man 1 because I had the DVD for it. I had the DVD for this actually as well. But yeah, this is fantastic. If you want a bit of extra laugh, definitely watch the extended version, but if you're just in it for the original film, just watch the theatrical cut, I'd say. And controversial, Spider-Man 3. Just gonna say, I fucking love this film as well. Faults and all, it's still well acted. The only thing I don't really like is Venom. I really don't like Venom in this. it still works as a film. Like, obviously, Sam Raimi wanted to focus on Sandman, and the Sandman story is fantastic. I love the Sandman story. But the Venom, like the stuff with this Peter Parker and Venom was quite good. I just didn't like Eddie Brock. The stuff with Gwen Stacy and it was quite a bit naff. It kind of felt like he was trying to sabotage his film series because of all the interference. But yeah, this was really good as well. I really enjoyed this one. Also, all the dancing that people take the piss out of. If you're one of these people like me who like to immerse themselves in the film and just put yourself in the shoes of the characters and the context of what it's trying to tell you, all that stuff makes sense because he's just trying to be cool and cocky, and that's what he thinks cool and cocky is. So it just works, in my opinion. But yeah, really like this film. Very good. This next film is a box set, but I only watched one. We went on a walk the other day, and I decided that I wanted to come home and watch a film. So I sat up early in the morning, and I watched Transformers 1, the original, the first one. I still think it holds up quite well. I really enjoyed it. It's a lot more serious in tone. Like, it's got a little bit cringe moments in it, but at the same time, I still really like it. I like the action in it. I do like the characters. I do like the character of Sam Witwicky and his family. I think they're quite crease. I quite like Megan Fox, even though unfortunately she is very over-sexualised in this film. But I do like her chemistry with Sam in this film. I think they both work very well. Michaela, that's what she's called in the film. I do think Michaela and Sam as characters work together. I think they have a really nice dynamic. But yeah, just apart from some of the directing choices could have been a little bit better, but apart from that, I still think Transformers 1 holds up. It's the only one I sat and watched. I am planning to rewatch the rest of the 4 films I didn't buy the box set with. It was an extra £10 to get the one with The Last Night, and I did not like Last Night at all. So at least with Age of Extinction, it's a guilty pleasure, but I really didn't like The Last Night. We're on to the Arrow videos now that I've watched. I've mainly watched box sets this month. But as I mentioned before, I got the Gamera box set, so this is the Showa era, kid-friendly oriented, this collection, these series of films. Gamera the Monster was Daiei Company, was their version of trying to make a Godzilla monster, and we got Gamera the Giant Monster. Very standard monster movie, apart from it's very standard until you get introduced to Gamera, who is a giant flying turtle that breathes fire and giant fangs. Like, he is a very unique monster and probably one of my favourite monsters of all time. In some ways I kind of like him more than Godzilla. I do love Godzilla. As you know, I love Godzilla. I've got the Criterion box out there, got a load of NECAs that lying around the room. But there's something about Gamera that I absolutely adore, because he's just this big lovable monster, but he's also he's got a lot of unique powers, whereas Godzilla just has mainly resilience and breathes fire. Can't fly though, like our main man here. But he gets more expanded upon in the Heisei era, but this is still fun. Gamera vs. Baragon, much more adult orientated film. It's still a good film in my opinion. People don't really like it because there's not a lot of Gamera in it, but at the same time I think it's a good film. It's got a very nice pace. It's quite slow, but at the same time I like the first 40 minutes of it, because Baragon doesn't show up until the 40-minute mark. But I like all the stuff leading up to him. It has a good tale of greed and portrayal. I do like the human story in that. And it's nice to have, in this run of films, a more adult-orientated film. It's nice. Gamera vs. Gauss, I really like. This is where it starts orienting more towards the kid-friendly element. When we have a kid in it who's like, oh, Gamera's the friend of all children. He doesn't hurt people. Clearly ignoring the two. That's something that I don't like, is the fact that he's like, Gamera won't hurt us. He's never done anything wrong. But the previous 2 films before that, he obviously was a monster, he was destroying things. They never really explained that element away. But still, Gamera vs. Gauss I really like. They really ham up the monster fights, which they improve upon from obviously the previous film, because it didn't have any had like 2 monster fights, and the last one was probably the best, and even then it was alright. But Gamera vs. Gauss improved that a lot. I do like the human story as well. The adults are great. I don't like the child actor in this film. What I came to realise with these films, it's the more teenage actors they use. I feel like they fit better and they were better actors, whereas the younger ones were just whiny, always moaning, and just kind of slowed the film down. That's mainly a problem in Jiger, I'd say. But Gamera vs. Gauss was still good, and obviously Gauss went on to be the main adversary of Gamera, even though he doesn't really appear that much, but he's mainly in other media. Gamera vs. Virus, I think it's a good film. Again, they save all the monster fights right to the end, but you still get a lot of Gamera in it. The kid actors are a lot better in it because they're more teenagers, like I mentioned, and they can hold their own against the more adult actors, which I quite like. It's a very standard, like, 50s B movie, but it's very good. I think the way they've done it, it could have been its own movie, but at the same time, yeah, I really like it personally. I didn't really like it when I watched it before, but then rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, yeah, it's much better. Gamera vs. Giron, younger actors, but at the same time, they're better than the kid from Gauss or Giant Monster, because I don't know, there's two of them, they had great chemistry, they were really good working with each other, and Gamera vs. Giron again improved on the previous fight, taking us to a different planet, which was very interesting. Also, Gauss makes his appearance. It also is explained that he comes from their planet, so one must have made their way to Earth. Giron is a very interesting monster. It's still funny in places and childlike, but it's also kind of gory in places as well, which is what I quite like. Very wacky as well, but also very fun. One of my favourites. Gamera vs. Jiger, Back to Earth. It's kind of similar to Baragon, like with taking something that doesn't belong to them. It's set around Expo 70, but it's still very good. Lots of monster battles. I was watching a documentary on Gamera, on the first Gamera one, where it says they asked for more budget for it, and all the extra money they asked for budget just went to the monster fighting scenes and explosions and stuff like that, and it really helps the film. It's really good. Gamera vs. Zegra is shit. Do not like it. It's boring. It's slow. Oh my god. I just no. It's not for me. It's really not for me, and it's a shame because it's the first movie in this set of films where I was like, no, I really don't like this. It's just bad. It's boring. The humans, it's a lot of running around. Also, the alien threat was just one woman and Zegra, and I'm just like, no. The monster Zegra is a really cool looking monster, but the monster fights are boring and stiff, and it's just a bit meh. Gamera the Super Monster, what a sad way for this run of films to end, but Daiei was going bankrupt, so they just threw it together. It's basically an alien film cut up with, I do like the human stuff with the alien plot, but it's mainly then cut up with monster fights from the whole Showa era, and yeah, it's really good. Like the fights, they make the fights much more condensed and they cut the fights better, so if you just want to watch a good compilation of all the previous fights, definitely watch Super Monster, because it's actually kind of good. But yeah, overall, really like this box set. I really enjoyed watching it. It's very fun indeed, and it just looks fantastic. Then we have the other of the 12 films of Gamera. We have the last 4, the Heisei era and the Millennium film. So Gamera Guardian of the Universe was fantastic. It's such a much more darker and mature tone to it. You can really feel the anime influences that they took from it, because it just feels really, really good. The monster fights look very spectacle, the acting's fantastic, the casting's brilliant, like there's just so much to it. It's my least favourite of the trilogy, but at the same time I don't like, just by me saying it's my least favourite of the trilogy do not get me wrong, it is a fantastic film, and it is definitely worth your time watching it, if you ask me. And there's so much lore in the Heisei trilogy, and it is known as being one of the best trilogies in kaiju history, like some of the best kaiju films of all time, and I agree with them. They are 3 of my favourites. I would definitely put them so high. I probably would put all 3 of them in my top 10 if I could. Attack of Legion, fantastic. It ups the spectacle so much. There's a bit of a pacing issue at times. It goes really, really quick. I feel like it needed an extra half an hour just to let some bits sit and breathe. But Legion herself is a fantastic adversary. It's a nice change of plot. What was set up in the first film, it's a nice different take. And Legion herself is a gorgeous monster. Like, she looks amazing. She just, the suit technique, like the techniques they use for it is just brilliant, and just the monster fights herself. And I knew, obviously, you know that there's a Gamera 3, but watching Gamera 2 for the first time before like before I got this box set, because I rented it on Amazon, it had me on the edge of my seat, and it still does have me on the edge of my seat, thinking that Gamera's not gonna get back up because Legion is such a formidable foe. She just will not go down. That's brilliant. And Revenge of Iris takes the #1 spot of my favourite of the trilogy, because it's just so much world building. The characters are fantastic. This honestly feels like such a great. There was so much love and care put into it, and it's such a beautiful way to round off the trilogy. There's so much heart and soul into it. There's some very apocalyptic feel to it as well. Oh, it's brilliant. Also, the transfers on all of these films are fantastic. They look gorgeous. Yeah, then Gamera the Brave, which is the 2006 film. This was not done by Daiei or Toho, it was just done by a separate company, and it's really good actually. I really like it. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that Gamera doesn't roar. It goes back for that more kid-friendly feel to it, but at the same time, I feel like this is what the Showa era really should have been. This felt a great blend of seriousness and kid-friendly stuff. It's brilliant. The only thing I don't like about the kid-friendly stuff is they go out of their way to put themselves in danger, and obviously at the risk of the parents, because the parents mean that their kids, they mean a lot to them. But yeah, that's just one of the things that you got to take away. But brilliant film, really enjoyed it. It looked fantastic as well. There's Guardian of the Universe, Attack of Legion, and Revenge of Iris. All look fantastic. Amazing box set. If you're definitely a Giant Monster fan, definitely pick them up. These are the last 3 films that I've watched. So I watched the Vengeance trilogy. I watched all 3 of them this month. I'd already seen Old Boy, as I mentioned that. I've watched that like 3 times now in the space of 2 months because I really like it. So I wanted to sit and watch. So I picked this box set up after I fell in love watching Old Boy, and then I watched JSA, and then I thought I'd buy the trilogy because why not? Take a blind risk, and it's paid off. Certainly paid off, because these 3 films are fantastic. They're obviously not fully connected, but there's the similar tones and ideologies that they put forward. That's what kind of brings them together, if that makes sense. So we have Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. I watched this twice this month. Well, first time I watched it on my own, and then I watched it again with my housemates. I wanted to show it to him. This is a brilliant film. This is more of a visual story, but the twists and turns that this take is absolutely brilliant. We have our guy. His character's called Ryu. It's Ru or Ryu. He's deaf. He's deaf and dumb, so he can't speak and he can't hear, and basically loses his job, and he needs to pay money to get his sister a transplant. I'm really not going to go into too much about this because there's so much to it to unpack. If I tell you one thing, it might spoil the whole thing, and I don't want to do that because this is just fantastic. It's gripping, it's brutal, it's just fantastic, and I really like this film. Definitely worth giving it a watch. Old Boy, I rewatched this. I didn't watch this version, I watched this version, I watched the 4K. I've talked about Old Boy quite a lot, so I'm not really going to go that too much into it. It still holds up, it's still fantastic. Rewatching it, there's little extra bits here and there. Quite funny in places as well. I picked up a lot more on the humour. Pak Chang, what kind of puts into his films is he tries to put these comedic elements in there along, like little bits here and there, and it's fantastic. But not too much to say about this apart from the transfer is gorgeous. That's all that I want to tell you. And this one also comes with the Old Boy disc, and it also comes with the Old Days documentary, which I need to still sit and watch. And then today, when I'm recording this video, I sat and watched Lady Vengeance, so it's very fresh in my mind. This is a fantastic film. It's about a woman who was sent to prison for 13 years, and she gets out, and she has to go on this wild chase of vengeance, and this is fantastic. I like this film just because I like how it took a more female approach to it, like basically all female cast. They're our main characters. It's really good. The transfer looks really nice. It's shot gorgeously. The music is really nice, and this is the lady from. She's also in Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. She plays the sister. Fantastic. She's brilliant in this. She can play sweet and sour very well, and I would highly recommend this. I just highly recommend this whole trilogy. I'd definitely say that this is really good, and I really just highly recommend this if you're a fan of Old Boy. I Handmaiden. Definitely just recommend this whole trilogy of films. If you love vengeance, if you love revenge, if you just like twists and turns, I would highly recommend this trilogy. Fantastic. I was not disappointed by this, and I still find love for it every time I rewatch these films. Fantastic. Definitely worth it, and it just looks gorgeous. Looks gorgeous. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I've watched really this month. Only thing else I can say I've been watching is Mr. Robot. My housemate has shown me that. I'm not really going to go too much into that because I've only watched the first season and the first 3 episodes of season 2. All I can say is fantastic. Season 1 was just brilliant. There's so many twists and turns. But yeah, that's about it for this month. That's all I've really watched. I haven't really watched a lot. Most of it was taken up by watching box sets, as you can tell, like the Spider-Man trilogy, the Gamma films, the Vengeance trilogy. So yeah, watched all of those. Been some great films. Tell me what you've watched this month. If you've seen these films, tell me what you think about them. Watch my previous video of my pickups for the month if you're interested. That's about it really. There's going to be a Doctor Who DVD and Blu-ray collection coming as well. I've sat and recorded that now. It's just been actually I've sat and recorded the first half. I need to record the other half, which yeah, it's being edited, so hopefully you'll enjoy that as well. I've been your boy. Thanks for sitting and watching this. Link in the description for the other videos. Thanks if you've subscribed recently. Have a nice day. Go and watch a film. And yeah, peace.